This is Sound Ideas on WGLT. I'm John Norton. Tenured and tenure-track faculty at ISU are officially unionized. The United Faculty of ISU was recognized by the State Educational Relations Board in January, and the union begins negotiating with the university on its first contract next week. WGLT's Lindsay Jones spoke with union member and associate professor Mark Zablocki about the years-long effort to organize.
Despite our best efforts, we didn't reach every single faculty member, but we reached a vast majority of them. And, there were several of us, we have a saying that many hands make light work. So we had, a lot of folks, having these conversations and one-on-one conversations. And I think a couple of things came out of that. One was that we really kind of broke out of our silos a little bit. We have 7 colleges, numerous departments. And it was interesting to hear some of the same issues coming up over and over, no matter what department we went into, or we were, who we were talking to. And then I think the secondly was it was just really a great way to establish a strong network by developing these relationships, across colleges and across departments.
What were some of those issues that kept coming up in those conversations with other faculty members?
Some of the big issues that came up were, number one, were salary and compensation. So being able to get steady raises, cost of living increases, and dealing with salary compression. That's when faculty wages stagnate. So what happens is, somebody who may have been here for 20 years might only be making just a little bit more than somebody who was recently hired. If raises are not sort of keeping pace with, the market value of incoming employees, that's kind of what happens is you see very kind of a shrinkage of the difference between salaries. And then salary inversion happens when it's kind of taking it to the extreme where somebody gets hired at a higher salary than somebody who's been there for a number of years. So those are, issues that we are, planning to, talk about and negotiate on.
Is there a sense that other universities are more competitive with faculty salaries than ISU might be?
Well, one thing we learned that we were amongst the lowest paid faculty in the state. And I think one of the outcomes of this will be a fair contract that is comparable with other state institutions.
Did you expect that when you heard that?
No, I did not. I was a little bit surprised, but then we looked at the numbers and I was like, yeah, okay. So I think that was, that was a driving issue as well. And together, we've joined the University Professionals of Illinois 4100. It's our local. It also includes 7 other universities. So that will also kind of, I think, enhance our collective power, especially at the state level where we, ISU has been underfunded in per pupil expenditures for a long time. In talks with some state legislators, we're hoping to advocate for a higher level of funding.
Any other issues on the minds of faculty and union members?
The second was workload. We have a lot of faculty members, almost 80% said they were working more than 40 hours a week, with a third of those saying they were working more than 50 hours a week. And it really impacted their ability to do research. So if we're kind of shifting to a more research-focused institution, that's something that'll be neat. Faculty workload will be need to be taken into consideration.
Is that overload due to a tension between teaching and research or other responsibilities?
There's an overload of expectations, in teaching, research, and service, and that can vary by department because everybody has their own ways that they evaluate faculty. But yeah, so I think that the biggest concern is an overload of teaching and service requirements, which really hamper the ability of faculty to do the research that they really want to do.
When you gave a public comment about the union to the Board of Trustees at a meeting last week, you mentioned something about student mental health being an important advocacy point. Can you say more about that?
Right. Well, faculty are the first contact that many students have with this institution. So if they're unable to access resources on campus, like mental health services or wellness, they may come to faculty, and faculty most of us are not trained in how to, address mental health issues with students. So, when we hear stories about them having to wait for 2 months for an appointment, and not being able to get in, if there was a potential crisis situation, it's concerning. And, we believe that, as a faculty union, we can better advocate to get those resources for student mental health and wellness, as well as other support services that they might need.
Any other issues besides seeing, mental health services be bolstered?
And then the third thing was workplace health and safety, and I did mention about the student mental health, but we also learned that a little more than half of our members had witnessed or experienced workplace bullying or discrimination, and we are wanting to strengthen the grievance process so that faculty feel that they have a way to get accountability and to be protected from that.
That was ISU faculty union member and Associate Professor Mark Zablocki speaking with WGLT's Lindsay Jones. And that's Sound Ideas today. WGLT's news magazine is made possible in part by Bloomington Normal Audiology.